Are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
If you and whoever is feeding you, nobody feeds me, at some point somebody's feeding you. Okay? You're not feeding unless something ridiculous crazy is going on. You're probably not getting along perfect with them all the time. That is great. That's good. If you and your parents have problems, that's the way it's supposed to be. Because if you didn't, you would stay. And you're not supposed to stay. You're supposed to go away. And as a parent, I'm supposed to have you leave, and you're supposed to want to leave. You know what I'm saying? That's the natural way. So that's it's going to happen. Although you need to ease up on how you treat mama. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That makes my life difficult. So just smile and say yes, ma'am. All right. What was that? Oh, what's I saying about? Okay, socialism. Socialism is the 30-year-old living on the mama's couch. Isn't it? Does that sound like fun? No. Socialism is the government providing stuff. All right? So in socialism, what job does government have? Does it have a job? Does it make money? Does it earn money?
Zero wage.
Government does not have a job. The government gets taxpayer money. They get donations. All right? What I do does not generate income. My salary is limited because it's taxpayer money. Policemen, firemen, military, do they all deserve a raise? Yes, they do. But we really can't give it to them because they don't produce income. Athletes, actors, actresses, singers, they produce income. What they do generates money. So it's not fair athletes get this much money. Well, yeah, it is. That's the ultimate fairness. They bring in billions of dollars, so they get millions of dollars. That's perfect. That's what they're getting exactly what they deserve. Are the owners making less than the players? No, not at all. Are the movie studios making less than the actors? No. They're taking their cut and then they're giving out. So that's fair. The only way I can generate income is to knock the wall out, build some little bleachers, and have people pay to come watch. I don't know if that happened, but I don't generate income. The government doesn't generate income. So there's a limit to how much dollars governments can bring in. I told you I was not a socialist. Did I tell you that story? I don't like socialism. Anybody else not like socialism? We're liars. Me and you are both liars. Because I said yesterday I like highways. Right? Every government is going to have some sort of socialism attached to it. They're going to produce, they're going to have a military. They're going to have roads. We can argue about how much socialism we want. But every government even every democratic free government is some sort of socialism. Because the government is providing stuff. We don't provide as much stuff as Sweden, which I'm not an expert. Uneducatedly, I can tell y'all Sweden provides some housing for a lot of people, free college, which we'll get into that in a second. Free. There's no free. Our college is donating their time and effort, and the professor, is it free? Somebody's paying for it. Free healthcare, there's no such thing. Somebody's paying for it. They got a lot of stuff in Sweden that's provided. It's a socialist nation. And their taxes are like 65%. So a big chunk of their salary goes to the government. Flip side is they don't have to pay for as much because the government's providing. So go back to the 30-year-old on the couch. What's good about socialism? What's good about living at mom and dad's house when you're 30?
They provide for you.
You got a house, Hopefully the air conditioner's running and working.
They feed you.
Maybe some food. You're getting some stuff provided. Okay? That is good. When people are getting health care, I'm all for people. People need to get the health care they need. That needs to happen. What's tough about that? It's expensive as all get out. Anybody here think about going to medical school, be a doctor, or anything?
I've thought about it.
Heath Smith, he's on the school board. He's a surgeon. And he's in the building in front of the hospital, the white building. Not the urgent care deal, but the other white building. He graduated in 2001. And I think he became a surgeon, I want to say about 3 years ago. No more than 4 years ago. So from 2001 to say 2017, what's he doing?
College.
He's going through medical school and college and training, and it costs money. And then, I mean, and the procedures he's using, the stuff he's using costs money. And the people researching medical stuff costs money. It's very expensive. Healthcare is extremely expensive. 20 years ago, I heard to be a doctor in South Texas, it costs you $250,000 a year to be a doctor. So after you make $250,000, then you start making a salary. So my idea is not free healthcare or finding ways to help people pay for expensive healthcare. I would rather them find ways to lower the costs of healthcare. I don't know how you do that, but that seems to me to be a better way of looking at it than let's help people pay for this expensive healthcare. Let's find ways to knock the cost down. Now, I think one way to knock the cost down would be to eliminate insurance. Now, I'm just talking. I don't know this for a fact. Insurance makes medical stuff cost more. If you paid cash, anybody been in the hospital, anybody had surgery or anything? Did you have insurance? I'm not trying to get your business or anything. Okay, with insurance, it costs this much. And do we care about the total cost of the surgery if we have insurance? What do we care about? How much do we have to pay? And so there's this little number here. We don't care about all the extra crap there. So they add all kinds of junk to it. If you're paying cash, well, it gets cut like maybe sometimes in half the cost. And you can pay a hospital $20 a month, no interest. I would, instead of paying for insurance, I'd rather pay for like a medical savings account. Y'all got flex cards. We didn't have one until Colt got diabetes. But you put money on that card you use to buy medical stuff. I'd rather put money on something like that, like a medical savings account, instead of paying for insurance that you may or may not use, and then you still have to pay for stuff, and have that money to pay. And you go to the doctor, and then you fill out the insurance, but we don't have insurance, it's cash. They go, oh, okay, good. That'll be $50. You got $50. Now, that oversimplifying everything, but does that kind of make sense? But socialism does provide people have their needs taken care of for the most part. What's negative about living in mom and dad's house, sleeping on the couch? Who's in charge? Who makes the decisions? Who decides what kind of shirts you get? So if the government's paying for it, who's going to decide where you live and what kind of stuff you go to college for and what kind of job you have? Whoever's paying for it makes the decisions. When I was 12, me and my dad had an argument, and he said, let me tell you, depends on this is all perspective. I love saying this, I hate hearing this. As long as you're in my house,
you do what I say.
Yeah, you do it my way. You follow my rules. That's true. If you don't like it, good luck. Go. And being an adult is awful. It's horrible, I'll tell you. If we're letting the government pay for it, we follow their rules, and they tell us how it's going to be and what we're going to get and what it's going to be like and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not a fan of socialism, but there is, no matter where you're at, there is a little bit. Texas has socialism. We're not a socialist state, but we have socialism. The government provides some stuff. Does that make sense? So is socialism good or bad? It's both. There's some good things because some things get provided. The bad thing is it costs a lot of money. Very, very high taxes. The more socialism you got, the higher your taxes are. And they're the ones making the decisions. Everybody wants taxes raised on rich people. Yeah, they can earn it. And then somebody gets rich, like, wait, what happened? And if you become rich, you're like, oh crap, why are you taking all my money? Well, you're rich, you can afford it. All right. Everybody cool? Put this in your notebook, or if you want to put it here for a little bit till you get one, I'll take it here. Someday, this fat guy here is going to tell y'all we are starting the last bit of info I'll ever try to cram in your head. And y'all think it's going to be a long time from now. It's not a long time from now.
I transferred over here.
You're in here? All right.
Yeah.
This is Lacan
Locking?
Yachts.
Locking?
Lacan
Anybody
Yachts.
want some more new students?
He's from Paradise, Texas. All right. Let's welcome him. All right.
Welcome to farm.
She's not here today. She's over there.
That's what I got out of it. I got out of like a day of college. English over.
I got good news last night.
You got bacon?
No.
Oh.
I was informed. Now, Bridgeport has a kid that used to live here, and he told Pacer and Trey, I'm not going to hit y'all. So he's not thinking about the game, and he's not going to do his job. He said he's going to go hit Lincoln, who plays receiver out here. He's a linebacker. So I guess he's going to go this way, hit Lincoln, and we're running for touchdowns. I'm so excited. Woo! And I'm not scared for you, Lincoln. Not at all. I'm not scared. Okay.
Did you see how much our JV won by yesterday?
I was there. I was there. I was cheering out X's for not blocking on the fast screen. Alright, this messed up, and I tried to fix it, and it kept messing up. So I have killed more trees than necessary. I always do front and back. Yes, sir.
Yes, you don't kill trees. I looked this up from this Smith just shouldn't use that a lot.
Yes.
It's about like 8,100,000 pieces of paper that takes until you kill one tree.
Okay, well,
You're good. How many?
do you know the biggest tree conservationist group there is? Logging companies.
That's their business. That's where it comes from.
They plant 7 trees for every tree they cut down. They are responsible for keeping forests alive. Now, part of it is job security, but anyway, just want to let y'all know. So this is not double-sided, which I wish it was. And I do have a stapler. I got a stapler up here and I got a jump thing.
Amen. Oh, I get the chance to.
Yeah.
Every time I do GT, every time I do Ram, every time I do Ranger, I get the chance to.
Wait, like you can run the box in the game. There's probably there, but it's not given.
Maybe some places, the rule is they have to plan ahead. So that's how we do it. Some places are set it off, right?
Yeah, you pay for the tickets. 7 seconds.
This Jacob looks 6'5", 7
Staple, I think is somewhere on my desk.
Wait,
We just pass it around if you want to.
I'm so glad I got all those classes. Thank you.
Both of them. But Carson's more aggressive than Clayton.
Yeah, I didn't have this class at first. I bought kids at Collinsville that were 6 foot. We're doing
Alright, let's do 5. Okay, we'll do 5. And we'll be done. A unitary system. If you're wearing a uniform or you're on a unicycle, what's a unitary system? One. Okay? Unitary system. Remember what was the 3 powers of government?
Judicial.
The 3 branches. We have 3 branches that do, each branch does a separate job. In England, they have a unitary government where one thing does all 3 jobs. So unitary means there is one group, one thing. I don't get real technical. I get stuff a lot. One group, one thing that does all 3 government jobs. Does America have a unitary government?
No.
No. In England, you don't have to jot this down. We'll do it later. If you want to, you can. You might as well do this. Easy work. I'm not asking you to run a quarter.
That sucked.
You have the legislative branch. In England, that's Parliament. And I always misspell it. It's like a
L-O-R.
It's like an A-I or a
Excuse me?
That's it right there.
Parliament.
Ireland.
Parliament is their Congress. They make the laws. They write the laws. The executive branch is picked by Parliament. They pick from one of them. They pick the Prime Minister. So they come from the majority party in the Parliament. So the Prime Minister comes from Parliament. And then Parliament has 2 houses, House of Lords and the House of Commons. And this is from old hundreds and hundreds of years ago. What do you think the House of Lords is?
Higher up people.
Those are the nobles, the rich people, the upper class. Back old, that was the House of Lords. What's the House of Commons? That was the regular people, normal people. House of Commons is elected. House of Lords is picked and nominated, and they rotate. They're like, it's not it kind of is the royal family, but like the dukes and earls and lords and all those people, they kind of rotate on that. The judicial branch, their Supreme Court is the House of Lords. So Parliament does all 3 things. That's why it's a unitary government. So y'all learned something today. No matter what, you've learned something today. You haven't wasted your time. So what's the main difference between a parliamentary system and a presidential system. Where does the president come from?
He's elected by the people.
We elect him. In a parliamentary system, where does their president, where does their prime minister come from?
From the room.
They pick, well, not from the rules. It's actually the House of Commons. Really, House of Lords is a part of it, but the House of Commons is really Parliament when you get down to it. They pick the prime minister. They pick the executive. So the big difference between a parliamentary system and a presidential system is Parliament, the legislature, and the executive are connected. They're tied to each other. Presidential, president's here, legislature's here. They're separate. They gotta work together, but they're separate. Federal system. When you hear the word federal, federal means share. It means separate and it means share. Federalism. We have a federal system, the federal government. Okay? You have the national government, the central government, and you have the state governments. They share the work. The states do some stuff, federal government does other things. And they're separate. Yesterday I painted a football field. I love painting a football field. I get to go by myself, away from anybody, turn on the radio, and just paint. And I can tell if I did good or not. I can look at the line if it's going, oh, let me make excuses. If our football field is supposed to look like this. From, right here's the, it's supposed to kind of go like, it's supposed to have a crown, and then it's supposed to kind of fall off a little bit. Two reasons for that. Water. And then Oklahoma, when they were on the wishbone, theirs looked like this. Because they wanted the running backs running downhill. Ours does this. Not quite like that, but there's ruts, and it is impossible to keep that thing straight. You're going off-road, you know. So there are squiggly parts and lines, and you'll notice one week it's going to go this way. The next week, as I go, I try to fix it. I'll see where it's curved, and I'll try to go the other way with it. And some weeks will get better than others, and then I'll go back and I do. How many times? They used to hate helping me because something would go flying. I'd yell, the machine would break. Wasn't that fun? I've calmed down a lot, haven't I? Over that. Anywho, they share the work. I painted the field. And Coach Thompson brought the little junior high off-season down, and they put the numbers out. So, also, I don't paint the numbers anymore. The off-season does that for me. I used to have to do that, but I do everything else. I just didn't have the time to get the numbers in. I could have the time if I stayed up here like Tuesday nights and did it, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to do it, so I've given up that little bit. So we share the work. By the way, next week, can y'all do the numbers for me? Parker's done that, 4 years in a row?
Thanks, Parker.
All right, the Confederate system. Y'all have heard of Confederacy. There is a government called a Confederate system of government. It has never worked. It never will work. Do you know what a Confederate system is? I hope you don't.
Dang it.
Confederate system, let's see, all right, let's say I join a club. Clubs take time and effort, and I'm not interested in giving time and effort. So say I join this club, and then a meeting comes up like, I don't want to go to the meeting. I guess the club could kick me out. But at school, I have to come to certain things because I'm employed. So I'm gonna be a better employee than I am a club member. Does that make sense? In a confederacy, the states are more power than the country. More important than the country. It's like a club. A confederacy is a club. And the states join this club, but they're the ones that are important. And they're only in the club to help themselves. A confederacy doesn't work because the central government has no power. The states have the power. It's like having the kids make the decisions for the house. That's not good. If Titan made the decisions of what we spend our money on, that'd be horrific. That'd be awful. And that's what a confederacy is. So you see how a confederacy can't work. It can't work. The South, each state could have been their own country. That would have worked a heck of a lot better than a confederacy where you're a part of this club, but you're what's important. You're pulling tug of war. If each person's pulling their own different ways, you ain't going to win. Right? So does that make sense? Confederacy? Look, you learned 2 things today. Man, double my pay. No. Last one. I got a lot of time. Remember what the goal today is? Don't get me fired. Presidential system. We've already mentioned this. Do you remember that? What is a presidential system?
Where the president has the power.
No.
No.
The president has no power. The
The
people pick the president, and the president is separate from the legislature. In a presidential government, the people pick the president. So and this is kind of halfway true. The president doesn't have to answer to Congress, but if the president and Congress don't work together, nothing will get accomplished. Okay? But they don't answer to. In a parliamentary system, who does the executive owe their allegiance to? Parliament, to the legislature, because they're the ones that pick it. So the legislature picks. They're not separate. In a presidential system, the president and the legislature are separate. If, I don't know if this works. If I had a company and little Christy worked for my company, would that be a great situation? No. Here I'm the boss. And we'd go to work and there'd be trouble here. I'm betting that trouble would move into the house. You know, that wouldn't be good. Here, the trouble follows to the trouble stay. Here it's separate. I don't know if that was good. But... Okay. Okay. Will we get to? Thank you very much.
I really think we got too much.